Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Is Austin Thompson the rare juvenile defendant whose crime reflects irreparable corruption? The deadly weapon with intent.
This morning, a Wake County judge answered that question, sentencing the Raleigh mass shooter to prison for the rest of his life. Live team coverage and analysis is straight ahead.
And Sunday will be a WRAL weather alert day. It looks like we'll have a good chance for rain. Some of it may be heavy at times. We'll talk about our potential for flooding.
Presidential visit. President Trump and the First Lady head to Fort Bragg to meet with Special Operation Forces. A preview of today's visit ahead. Mary Marshall, Susan Karnitz, Nicole Connors, James Thompson, and Officer Gabriel Torres. Today, a Wake County judge delivered justice for the families of these victims who were killed by Austin Thompson more than 3 years ago. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Renee Chu.
And I'm Chris Levingood. We appreciate you joining us this afternoon. Judge Paul Ridgway handed down 5 life sentences for each to run consecutively, along with 2 additional sentences for the 2 attempted first-degree murder counts.
We have team coverage of our breaking story with analysis of the law that guided the judge's ruling. We begin with Sean Gallagher, who is in the courtroom for today's ruling. He joins us live with reaction from the families of the victims. Sean.
Yeah, Renee, really hard to express how these families feel today because there's absolutely no joy in this. It will not bring their loved ones back, but I'm told there's a sense of relief knowing that the person responsible for all of this heartache will never be free again. Now, 5 consecutive life sentences without the opportunity of parole. It was elation in the courtroom when Judge Paul Ridgway made that announcement. Ridgway making it a point to honor the victims in this tragedy. Nicole Connors' fierce love of her husband, Gabe Torres, and his service to his country, his community, and his incredible family. Susan Karnitz, a life as a runner and beloved mother and wife. And Mary Marshall, whose laughter only described as what sunshine must sound like. Judge Ridgway proceeded to lay waste to the defense's arguments about why Austin Thompson did this, that it was thought out, it wasn't the result of an adverse reaction to acne medication, and that Austin Thompson knew what he was doing and followed through with it.
Court concludes that the answer to the issue before the court at this hearing is yes. Austin Thompson is the rare offender whose crime reflects irreparable corruption.
Hey, this is what he deserved, 5 lives, 6 lives, and you just couldn't ask for anything more.
Justice was served today. 5 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. It's what we were all hoping for.
Now, as Austin Thompson was let out, his defense team does say they will appeal this sentence. But one thing we learned from testimony over the course of the last 2 weeks, Lynn Gardner, one of the few survivors of this tragedy, said that she would forgive Austin Thompson. That's a question I posed to Tracy Howard after the hearing today. And he says at this point, he can't do that because he hasn't heard from Austin Thompson himself that he is sorry for this or that he regrets any role he had in this tragedy.
Well, forgiveness is very personal and very complicated as well. Sean, I'm wondering, in addition to the lives that were taken, the innocent lives that were taken on October 13, 2022, this also involved a family that had a son who was murdered by their other son. Have you heard from Austin Thompson's parents?
Well, I reached out to Thompson's defense attorney, Kelly Minette, to see if they would have any interest in sharing how they feel today. They had declined, but she tells me that Thompson did speak to them afterwards, just saying that he wanted to thank them for their defense of him over the last couple of weeks, really the last couple of years, but that even the defense team as well, not making any comment as they do plan to appeal this process.
All right, John Gallagher, thank you for that update. Austin Thompson was 15 when he committed this crime. If he had been 18 or older on October 13, 2022, when he killed 5 people, this 2-week hearing would not have taken place.
And WRAL's Megan Clordy is here right now to talk a little bit more about this. Megan, we are monitoring this hearing, and we heard from Judge Ridgway. He was really focusing on the juvenile laws in North Carolina that he was considering in terms of whether Austin Thompson would be eligible for parole.
Chris, that's right. If Austin Thompson, again, was 18 when he took these 5 lives and he was sentenced to life in prison, he would not have had the option of parole. But it was a choice by the DA's office to put on this 2-week sentencing hearing to present all of the evidence and context for the judge to consider. Ahead of his sentence, Judge Paul Ridgway noted the specific words in the North Carolina law, and you heard them at the top of this show. He said the Supreme Court holds that life without parole is for the rare juvenile defendant whose crime represents irreparable corruption. He said that Austin Thompson is that rare juvenile. And although he is sentenced to life without parole, our state has what's called the 40-year rule. It says that if a defendant is underage when they commit a crime and they're serving more than 40 years, which is in this case, it's unconstitutional to not offer the opportunity of parole at 40 years into a sentence. That, of course, does not mean he'll be granted parole, but that he'll go before a parole commission in 2062.
The current case law says that anything beyond 40 years is, in essence, a life without parole sentence. And so without the finding that the person should be sentenced to life without parole, they would be let out after 40 years.
Here's what the judge had to consider. These are some of the factors that the law says he had to take into account when finding life without parole is warranted for someone under 18. And we can just go through them very quickly. He had to consider the maturity level of Austin Thompson, his ability to understand what he did and consequences, his intellectual capacity at the time, that he had no record, that there was no evidence of mental health issues, that there was no evidence of peer pressure or family pressure, and the likelihood of benefiting from rehabilitation. Those are his considerations. We've also learned that Austin Thompson, again, plans to appeal, but Lauren Freeman says that process can take several years, and she believes that he'll fail.
Obviously, the case we have followed very closely. And of course, you can find a complete breakdown of today's ruling, including the law that guided Judge Paul Ridgway's decision and reaction from the victims' family members. That's on our website, WRAL.com, and the WRAL News app.
A potent system will bring a soaking rain for much of Sunday. It will be a WRAL weather alert day due to the chance of at least an inch of rain. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center with a look at the timeline. Elizabeth, we need this rain.
We definitely do. This is a look at what we're likely to see all the way up there at widespread. And so this is a WRAL weather alert day, and there's a small chance that we could see some flooding. Here's the way this is likely to go. The system's just starting to get cranked up in the western part of the country. It's likely to move in the morning hours lightly, and then during the afternoon, it's likely to pick up in intensity. It may linger briefly into the morning commute on Monday, but definitely is going to be a gray and mostly wet day for us on Sunday. Let's take a look at Futurecast. This is Saturday morning. Saturday looks lovely. We're going to see temperatures in the 60s for highs on Saturday afternoon, so Valentine's Day looks great. This is 4 o'clock. A little bit of cloud cover starts to sneak in, but even if you're going to be out late on Valentine's Day, to a movie, a late dinner, the rain holds off. This is 6 a.m. on Sunday. We begin to see some light patchy rain, and this newer run of our computer models is a little slower than the one that we were showing earlier this morning. Notice it doesn't really get heavy until maybe mid to late afternoon. So if you have church services or something else to attend on Sunday morning, you may be relatively dry. This is midnight on Sunday night, and then some light showers lingering into early Sunday morning. Again, Saturday looks lovely if you have plans to be outside. It'll be chilly in the morning in the 40s, but then we'll climb into the low 60s during the afternoon. Coming up, we're going to talk more about how much rain we'll see total and what that flooding potential could be.
I'm Destiny Patterson here in the WRAL Live Center. Gardner police say that they need your help in investigating a homicide. They posted this on social media. This is something that we have been covering. We talked to the family of Joey Adams. He was the victim in this case, and we were on the scene after we learned of that shooting on February 9th. Police say that they found him inside of a car shot when they were doing a welfare check. So if you know anything, you're asked to call Gardner police.
Sydney, thank you. We are continuing to follow a homicide investigation in Durham. One child is dead. Another is in the hospital. WRAL's Kirsten Clark joins us live on Chartwell Court in Durham, where all this unfolded. And Kirsten, new this hour, Durham police say they've identified a person of interest.
Renee, that is the newest information we have as we try to learn more about what happened here at this home on Chartwell Court. The scene is clear now, but this is where police found those two children unresponsive last night. Take a look at this video from our breaking news tracker earlier this morning. You can see an SUV being towed away from the home's driveway around 5:30. Throughout the morning, investigators were going in and out of the house carrying bags of evidence. Now take a look at this video from Sky 5 over the scene last night. You can see several Durham police cars and EMS outside the house. The house and part of Chartwell Court were blocked off with tape. Durham police say they found the children just before 5:30 last night. They were both taken to the hospital where one of them died. That Sky 5 video also showed a person being taken away in an ambulance. Police radio traffic indicates a total of 3 people needed medical attention.
I'm going to have at least 3 patients, 2 pediatrics and 1 adult that I can tell right now. Let's remove everybody out of the house, including yourselves.
Again, we do know that Durham police are investigating this as a homicide, and police say that they have identified a person of interest. We asked Durham police several questions, including if that person of interest has been charged and how that child died. We'll be sure to bring you those answers and any new information as soon as we have it. Live in Durham, Kirsten Clark, WRAL News.
President Donald Trump will visit troops at Fort Bragg today. The president is expected to meet with special forces who were involved in the capture of Venezuela's president. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey has a preview of the visit.
We're just about an hour away from the president's visit. First Lady Melania Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth will be joining President Trump for today's visit. The president and First Lady are scheduled to go to Pope Army Airfield, where they will meet with military families and members of the special forces who carried out an operation in Venezuela to capture President Nicolas Maduro. NBC News exclusively interviewed Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, yesterday. She says Maduro is still the legitimate leader of Venezuela, and he and his wife are innocent. U.S. Secretary of Energy Chris Wright explains how he views the power dynamic in the country.
So the Venezuelans are in charge here in Venezuela, but the United States has enormous leverage over the interim authorities in Venezuela.
We have a crew there at Fort Bragg right now, and the event is scheduled to start a little bit after 1 o'clock. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Raleigh.
And just a reminder that WRAL News will be carrying the president's visit live on WRAL.com. And then make sure you look for live reports from Monica Casey on our news beginning at 5 p.m.
Independent Senator Bernie Sanders will be in Durham today. He's expected to speak at 2 o'clock at the Durham Convention Center. Sanders will be there with Durham County Commissioner Nida Alam. Alam is trying to beat incumbent Congresswoman Valerie Foushee in the Democratic primary next month. You can find our analysis of the race, tracking the money behind both candidates, online at WRAL.com. Next at noon, possible government shutdown. What's holding up funding with some federal agencies, including Homeland Security, as the midnight deadline approaches.
Plus, SpaceX launch. A look at the rocket taking off this morning, including from you, the viewer.
Life without parole. We are digging deeper in the final day of sentencing for the 2022 Raleigh mass shooter.
Coming up next, sea storms moving in with WRAL's exclusive Dual Doppler 5000, sponsored by the WRAL Weather app. Download now for live radar.
The State Board of Elections is investigating allegations of registration drive workers impersonating elections officials. The State Board of Elections posted about this on their website, calling this unacceptable and saying that it hurts voter confidence. Officials say that workers are falsely telling voters they need to re-register to vote to cast a ballot, but that's not true for everyone. Voters who are already registered are not required to re-register unless they have moved to a new county. The board also received complaints of people going door to door identifying themselves as elections workers, but officials say elections workers would never go door to door.
Homeland Security is on the verge of a shutdown today, and this is happening as President Donald Trump's administration announced plans to draw down its surge of immigration enforcement officers in Minneapolis. Here's NBC's Alice Barr.
The clock is ticking again to another partial government shutdown, with the Department of Homeland Security set to run out of funding at midnight tonight.
The motion is not agreed to.
Tensions flaring in the Senate when Democrats rejected a short-term extension, holding out for major changes to immigration enforcement operations.
We want to fund the Department of Homeland Security, but only a department that is obeying the law.
A TSA agent is going to go without a paycheck. Why? So that you can posture politically. I'm over it.
TSA, FEMA, and the Coast Guard will all lose funding under a DHS shutdown, though most employees will keep working critical jobs without pay. Air travel could be affected with TSA agents once again under strain, and Congress out for a week-long break.
If a deal is struck, we will get everybody back here to vote on it.
ICE and Border Patrol are at the center of the dispute, but they still have access to a big pot of money from the big, beautiful bill. Democrats are demanding long-term changes, including requiring judicial warrants to enter private property for immigration operations and stopping agents from wearing masks, some of which President Trump called very hard to approve.
We have to protect our law enforcement, very important.
All as the president's border czar announced an end to the surge of federal immigration officers in Minneapolis, where the shooting deaths of 2 American citizens touched off uproar over DHS tactics.
This idea that we're going to continue to fund them at this level after what they've done to my state, that's not in the cards for me.
In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
A federal judge also ordered Homeland Security to grant immigrants detained in Minnesota access to lawyers. The judge says the administration likely violated detainees' constitutional rights at one holding center by preventing that access.
I'm here with Elizabeth in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. This Valentine's Day weekend, Valentine's Day looks good if you have a date, but Sunday is when we're going to get all the rain.
Sunday's going to be one of those days you can maybe sleep in. You know, I would say,
it could be romantic.
Get some things done around the house, but maybe just read a book, catch up on, whatever shows you're watching, that sort of thing. That's what you're going to want to do on Sunday. It is much needed rain, that's for sure. The timing of this, definitely the heaviest will be in the afternoon and evening, but there could be some light showers that show up as early as maybe 6 or 8 o'clock in the morning. We could see as much as 1 to 2 inches. We're probably going to be somewhere in the 1 to 1.5 inch totals, but we'll see. I mean, it looks like a lot of rain for an extended period of time. So get outside tomorrow and enjoy, or today too. Look at this. I mean, unless it's, unless there's a thunderstorm coming through, there's almost always somebody here at Pinehurst enjoying the pretty weather, but it's chilly. Right now, 44 degrees and a little breezy too. We have a northwest wind right now at 9 miles per hour. We'll climb on up into the low 50s this afternoon, which is close to normal. But right now, we're mostly in the 40s in the Triangle, 44 in Holly Springs and in Garner. It's 42 up in Wake Forest and 44 in Durham. Around town this afternoon, again, near normal. High temperatures will be in the low to mid 50s. Lots of sunshine, just a little bit breezy. The Valentine's Day planner just looks wonderful. It'll be chilly in the morning near 40, but by lunchtime, it's 55, and we'll see highs in the low 60s during the afternoon, which takes us a little bit above normal. And with the sunshine, it should really be nice. Our next weather maker is just getting cranked up over here around the Four Corners, and it will eventually move across the country. It has a fairly long way to go, so it will be a fairly fast mover because it has to get here by Sunday. But it may be, it may slow down a little bit. If anything, the models are trending a little slower than a little faster, so that means it could start a little later in the day on Sunday. Keep checking back, obviously, with both.
We have some hazy sunshine in Durham there as we look live at the Lucky Strike Tower on the American Tobacco campus. A pretty day. You're looking live and watching WRAL News, available on YouTube TV and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device.
Valentine's Day is the perfect time to cuddle up, maybe watch a rom-com. But remember, these movies can create unrealistic expectations when it comes to love. Here's Anna Eliopoulos.
Whether you love or hate celebrating Valentine's Day, most can agree that rom-coms can make your heart skip a beat.
I love rom-coms. Some of my favorite are with Matt McConaughey.
Despite formulaic plots,
there's always like a big gesture of love in a lot of these
rom-coms.
And predictable endings.
That stuff just doesn't really happen.
Audiences can't get enough.
Rom-coms focus on the infatuation stage of a relationship, which is what gives you those butterflies, the roller coaster feelings. I get why that makes good TV. It makes for a good film. But we can't expect that infatuation phase to last our whole lives.
But beyond infatuation, are these films and shows setting unrealistic expectations for the rest of us? Whether it's the grand gestures to try to win someone's love.
These types of gestures would freak women out. And we're supposed to think this is romantic and sexy, and that's just not realistic in the slightest.
Or what you take away from them.
If people internalize those narratives as something that is to be aspired to, then they might be setting themselves up for disappointment.
Experts say they don't reflect real life, leaning on tropes of love at first sight and happily ever after, leaving out serious conflict, financial stress, and mundane things like deciding what to eat for dinner.
Rom-coms make love seem very exciting, and love can be very boring on a day-to-day level.
It's not surprising people fall in love with romantic storytelling because for most, it's been ingrained in us since childhood.
Social scientists would say that from a very young age, we're primed to look for those kinds of stories and to celebrate those stories. So it makes sense that as adults, we are still interested in those kinds of love and relationship stories.
That quote, love can be boring on a day-to-day level. I wouldn't quite use that word, but I like stability, consistency, the small daily acts of kindness. That's what I want from my Valentine.
Also,
right?
don't measure your love with somebody else, like a rom-com or even like social media. Like, please find your love, not someone else's.
Leave that for the movies. Valentine's Day may be for lovers, but today is Galentine's Day as well. This pseudo-holiday celebrated on February 13th gained popularity after a 2010 episode of Parks and Recreation. Since then, it has been embraced by single women around the world. A typical Galentine's Day celebration includes brunch with your female friends, plenty of drinks, but it can also be celebrated alone, doing things that bring you joy. Well, if you'd like to celebrate the traditional Valentine's Day tomorrow, we have some ideas for you. WRAL Smart Shopper put together a list of the best deals that you can take advantage of this weekend. Our team is updating a list of deals that you'll find locally. You can find that on WRAL's Smart Shopper page under the Consumer tab of WRAL.com.
Well, just ahead, life without parole for Austin Thompson.
I didn't want to speak to Austin. I gave a victim impact statement to the judge electronically.
We will hear more reaction from those who lost loved ones in the Raleigh mass shooting right after the judge handed down the sentence.
And we do have a look at your winning NC Education lottery numbers right here on your screen.
Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Life without the possibility of parole. That is the ruling for the Raleigh mass shooter, Austin Thompson.
It's been a long road for the families and friends of the 5 victims who were killed, as well as 2 others who were injured on October 13th, 2022. We have been on this story since that deadly day, sharing what we know about the victims, the shooter, and the road to justice.
Well, and this is why we have team coverage from our newsroom to the courtroom. And we begin with WRAL's Carly Haynes with reaction from family members from the court.
Well, throughout the sentencing trial, 39 people were called on to testify, and that includes members of law enforcement, experts, as well as shooting victims or family members of those victims. And in his statement, Judge Paul Ridgway said that Austin Thompson acted intentionally that day.
It is quite frankly hard to conceive of a greater display of pure malice than the conduct of the defendant in his indiscriminate targeting and brutal killing of 5 innocent homicide victims.
In the gallery today, we saw Tracy Howard, one of the people who testified during these hearings. His wife, Nicole, was killed along with her dog. Howard was here every day since the start of the trial.
I never heard Austin apologize. I never heard any, never seen any regrets, so right now I can't forgive him.
Howard put his fist in the air when a judge sentenced Thompson to life in prison without parole. Other families in the gallery wiped tears, heaved into their hands. They had to relive that day in 2022 all over again these past few days. And it all culminated into these moments that you see right here. Judge Ridgway determined that Thompson strategized, that he planned this attack, that this was not a product of neurodevelopmental differences or side effects from acne medication, as his defense had previously argued. Now, later on this afternoon, you're going to hear from somebody who specifically chose not to take the stand throughout this trial. His fiance was killed during that mass shooting. Carly Haynes, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
So much emotion in that courtroom. Carly, thank you. The fact that Austin Thompson was 15 when he committed this crime is the only reason why the judge considered parole in this case.
Well, and if he were an adult and convicted of first-degree capital murder, he would have either gotten life without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. And we do have WRAL's Megan Clorty here. She monitored the 2-week hearing. And Megan, the judge really took his time laying out the parameters of the law during Thompson's sentencing.
He did, and Renee made the point, we often don't hear the reasoning behind the decision when we get it from a jury, but with a judge, this was different. Austin Thompson is now facing a life behind a prison cell, and while he'll serve those 5 life sentences without parole, North Carolina law dictates it's unconstitutional for him to not have the chance at parole because he was under 18 when he committed these crimes. So what does that mean? If Paul Ridgway would have given Thompson parole, he'd be eligible after serving 25 years. He is not. But in North Carolina, there's what's called the 40-year rule, which states that for juveniles sentenced to more than 40 years, they must have the possibility of parole after serving 40. That means in 2062, Austin Thompson will go before a parole commission, but it doesn't mean he'll be granted parole. While his defense team has said he'll accept whatever sentence the judge gives, he is planning to appeal. And District Attorney Lauren Freeman discussed that with us and what it could look like after the hearing.
This will go on for several years, probably at the appellate level. But, we worked very hard. I think the judge worked very hard to protect the record in this case to make sure that it would stand up under appeal.
The judge had to look at specific mitigating factors, as they're called, before sentencing Thompson to a life without parole. And this is the list, if you want to just glance at it. These are the factors. He had to consider his maturity level, for example, his ability to appreciate the consequences of what he was doing, his intellectual capacity at the time. Remember that we knew he had a 3.8 GPA. That he had no prior record, that there was no evidence of any mental health issues, peer pressure from family or friends. He could not find that. And the judge went through each of these. He found that the harshest sentence was warranted for Austin Thompson under North Carolina law after reviewing that list, guys.
And Megan, when it comes to this, one other thing that I was listening to for the judge, he really focused on malice and how that was such a key element in coming to the decision of this.
He did, and it's interesting because there's the definition of malice and then there's the legal definition of malice. And he said, essentially, was there intent to do this? Was there malice in this? And he said, absolutely. For both of the definitions, there was without question that Austin Thompson met them.
All right, thank you for that perspective, Megan.
Our coverage of today's sentencing for Austin Thompson continues on air, on our website, and on the WRAL News app. Be sure to tune in to WRAL News at 5 for more team coverage, which includes sound from family members and the Honorable Judge Paul Ridgway.
I'm Destiny Patterson here in the WRAL Live Center. A woman with the same address as the crime scene where we have had crews all morning has now been charged with first-degree murder and attempted first-degree murder. If you take a look at this video, this is in relation to an investigation where one child died and another was hurt and was in the hospital. We've been following this. We've had Ali Calabar there this morning. Kirsten Clark is on the scene now. The woman named in the warrants is Andrea Faust. We are working to learn her relationship to those children. Of course, we'll keep you updated and let you know once we learn more.
All right, thank you for following that for us, Destiny. And we are also following new measles developments locally. Health leaders confirmed another exposure, and this time in Orange County. The contagious person visited a Goodwill store off Weaver Dairy Road, and that was on February 6th. And folks, that now makes 10 different locations across our area that have been flagged for possible measles exposure. Health leaders say that an infected person visiting from South Carolina went to 5 locations in Raleigh. And then in Durham, an infected person traveled to 3 different locations. And then there's Johnston County. Someone entered the ER at UNC Health Johnston and Smithfield with measles. And you can count on WRAL to track any new cases and exposure risks in our area. Find everything you need and that your family needs to know about measles wherever you watch on WRAL.com and the WRAL News app.
Deportations under Trump. How much the administration has spent to deport migrants so far.
Plus, Valentine in bloom. How this weekend is like the Super Bowl for florists.
The judge's ruling comes as a new report revealed the Trump administration has spent more than $30 million to deport migrants to countries they are not from. According to the report, the administration often uses expensive military aircraft to carry a small number of people. In other cases, the administration paid to fly migrants to a third country only to have them fly to their home country. Don Lemon is expected to appear in a Minnesota courtroom today. The independent journalist will be arraigned on charges related to a protest at a church in St. Paul. Prosecutors say he was part of a takeover-style attack where protesters entered the sanctuary during a service. He will face 2 federal charges related to violating First Amendment rights. On tape, Lemon could be heard saying that he was there to cover the protest and did not participate.
People are expected to spend more than $3 billion on flowers this Valentine's Day. That's according to the Society of American Florists. And our cameras captured this video inside Fallon's Flowers today in downtown Raleigh. Employees there were very busy taking orders. General Manager Frank Campisi says the store processed around 2,000 orders this week. And if you need to buy flowers for your sweetheart at the last minute, well, you still have time.
You can order flowers on DoorDash, and a dasher will come pick up the flowers and have them delivered to you, sometimes within an hour.
A lot of places offer flowers as well. Harris Teeter, for example. The Society of American Florists says that red roses rank #1 as the most popular flower on Valentine's Day. I would say I'm shocked, but I am not. And that's followed by mixed flowers, carnations, and lilies.
Giving from the Soul. A local nonprofit pairs black tie fashion with luxury sneakers for a cause. After the break, how this fun-filled event helps to benefit educational programs, leadership, and fun community service.
And very superstitious. Stevie Wonder sang about it, and I almost just did. But why do people dread Friday the 13th? Oh, we'll talk about why just ahead.
Get ready for an evening of elegance and comfort. We're just over a week away from the 4th edition of Giving from the Soul, SOLE, Masquerade Sneaker Ball, sponsored by the Capital City chapter of Jack and Jill of America Incorporated. This is more than a party, it's an investment, and we'll explain why here in just a moment. Joining us to talk about the event are the president of the Capital City chapter of Jack and Jill of America Incorporated. We have Kenya Graham here, and the former vice president, Mariana Sano Udozo, who is the fundraising representative for this year's event. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thanks for having us.
So Kenya, first, for those who aren't familiar with Jack and Jill of America, talk about your organization's mission.
Sure, and thank you for having us here today, first of all. So Jack and Jill was founded in 1938, and we are a group of mothers dedicated to raising the next generation of African-American leaders. And so we do that while enhancing the lives of all children through innovative programming, community service, civic engagement, and also just philanthropic giving as well.
And so now we're coming to your signature fundraiser, a masquerade ball. Intriguing. So this is first year for the masquerade theme, right?
It is. Even though we've been doing the Giving for the Soul for the past 4 years, but this is our first time doing a masquerade ball. Masquerade is all about elegance and elegant attire, and we feel that behind the mask, we're all the same, and we can put our differences aside and be there for the community.
And then the significance of the sneakers, because it is called Giving for the Soul, right?
Correct.
SOLE.
Yes.
I love the comfort aspect.
Yes. Why not look comfortable, beautiful, classy, and have your kicks on? Sneakers. And also, we also have the opportunity to basically give back and stepping into our purpose for the community.
And you talked about giving back. proceeds from this fundraising event, what does it end up going toward? How does it benefit?
So absolutely, and let me just say, the Capital City chapter, we were established in 2012, so we've been serving our community ever since. And we do give a portion of the proceeds back to the National Jack and Jill Foundation. We support lots of charities, but Boys and Girls Club of Raleigh is one of our signature partners here in the local community. So part of our funds will go there. We've done several projects for the Boys and Girls Club over the past few years. Everything from giving laptops and computers, building the Gaga pit, and this year we're working on outfitting the new teen room at the new location on Fox Road. So we're also helping kids go to college. So this year we're also awarding 4 students, local students, $1,000 academic incentive grants to help them to go to college.
How wonderful.
Yes.
We want to let people know how they can support this event. First, it is coming up next Saturday?
Correct. Saturday, February 21st, and is located at the Weston Briar Creek RDU.
Okay, and tickets are still available, and you can also donate by scanning that QR code right there. Thank you so much, ladies. It was great, and love the kicks, and have a wonderful time.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Chris and Elizabeth.
See, I'm looking at my shoes, and I'm like, man, I want some nice kicks. Well, here's a look at where the medal count stands right now. Norway is hanging on to first place, followed by Italy in second. They have the same number of medals, but Norway has more gold. Team USA is in third place with 14 total medals, and then France and Germany round up to the top 5. All right, let's talk weather, because this weekend we have Valentine's Day. But one of those days we have a higher chance of getting some rain.
Yeah, it's likely to rain for us on Sunday. Saturday's going to be a great day to get outside. Remember, the skating here at Fenton is done. They scraped all the ice off of the rink, it looks like earlier this morning. It's going to be a nice day, though. I mean, we've got more 70-degree days in our forecast coming up, so, it's time. It's time. Not that winter is over, but definitely, as we get into March, we start to see more of these warm days. It's 44 right now. We still have a wind coming out of the north, keeping our temperatures on the cool side today. We'll just see a high of 52, but we'll see a high tomorrow for Valentine's Day. Right there is 62, so that's going to feel great. And then Sunday is a WRAL weather alert day because of our chance for rain. Our highs will be in the 50s. Overnight lows will be in the 40s, so that's not real comfortable, but it's not freezing. So all of this is going to be rain. Here's our system right now getting cranked up here across parts of Arizona and New Mexico. It's going to slide right across the southern part of the country and roll in here on Sunday. We could start to see some showers early in the day, but the bulk of it will be late afternoon and overnight, and maybe even into the morning commute on Monday. Here's a look at the evening on Saturday. If you have plans to be out, late for dinner or out to a movie or a show, you're going to be just fine. The rain doesn't really start to pick up until Sunday morning, and even then, it'll be light and patchy. So if you're headed to a church service or you have something that you need to do outside on Sunday morning, for the most part, you're probably okay. But once we get into the afternoon, we'll start to see that rain picking up in intensity and in coverage. So this is midnight on Sunday night, and then this is Monday morning at around 5 or 6 a.m. Our rain chances 100% for Sunday and Monday, and we're putting a 30% chance on Monday just to cover it in case it's still lingering. We do have a good chance of some reasonably good rainfall. Looking at our in-house model, Futurecast, I was showing you a few minutes ago, is an inch. The American model shows about 1.5 inches, and the European model around 1 inch or so. So we have, certainly are hoping that we end up with some good rain. The Weather Prediction Center that puts out our flood risk is putting us at a low flood risk, but most of the time that flood risk is 0. So a low risk is sort of like a level 1 risk when we're talking about severe weather. It does mean that there's a small chance. What we would see is some of that heavy rain overnight could cause some ponding on the roads and some issues there, but that's about all we would see. So again, weather alert day for us on Sunday. Monday's President's Day. It may start a little wet, but we'll see some sunshine later in the afternoon, and then pretty weather Wednesday and Thursday with high temperatures either side of 70. Stay with us. We'll be right back with your top stories.
As we wrap things up, here's a look at a few of the headlines that we're following today. A judge this morning sentenced the Raleigh mass shooter to life without parole. Austin Thompson was 15 years old when he killed 5 people in 2022. And the judge said that Thompson is one of the rare juveniles who has crime displays irreparable corruption, which is, however, in North Carolina, a rule that states that juveniles sentenced to more than 40 years must still have the possibility of parole after serving 40 despite the sentence.
President Donald Trump will visit with troops at Fort Bragg today. The president is expected to meet with special forces who were involved in the capture of Venezuela's president. The president and First Lady Melania are expected to visit military families and members of the special forces at Pope Airfield. We will carry his visit live on WRAL.com and then look for live reports from Monica Casey on our news beginning at 5 p.m.
Senator Bernie Sanders will be in Durham today. He's expected to speak in the next hour at the Durham Convention Center. And he's going to be there with Durham County Commissioner Nida Alam. Alam is trying to beat incumbent Congresswoman Valerie Foushee in the Democratic primary next month.
It is Friday, the end of the work week. Some are also taking note of today's date, which is Friday the 13th. Some people feel a little uneasy because movies have linked it to bad luck. Everything from black cats to splitting poles is forbidden. And if anything bad happens today, some might blame the misfortune on the superstition that surrounds this day. One psychologist says expecting a bad day just because it's a Friday the 13th can cause undue stress.
Superstitions have the power to change our thoughts and our behaviors. Studies have showed that on Friday the 13th, people tend to avoid travel, stay at home, and delay important decisions.
Dr. Albers says simple things like good nutrition and sleep can help calm you and help you feel better on days when your brain is sounding an alarm.
Look, but if you drive behind one of those log trucks on the road, just get into the other lane. Just saying. All right, so time now for our pet of the day, and this is Selena Kyle. That's the identity of the comic book villain Catwoman from the Batman comics. Selena is a 6-year-old female cat. She loves headbutting your hands and forcing you to pet her, and she's exceptionally friendly with everyone she meets. Sometimes she has itchy skin because of allergies, though. Now through tomorrow, adult dogs and adult cat adoption fees are only $2.14 for February 14th.
President Trump and the First Lady are set to meet with military families at Pope Army Airfield. You can watch our live report on WRAL.com.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.